So you just got a new AK? Well, you're in the right place. Today's video, we're going to get you from box to range ready in one foul swoop. So bust out the pen and paper, take some notes. We're going to get you there from zero to hero. So you got your AK rifle home, and you're eager to go to the range and start blasting. Well, I appreciate the energy. I can definitely respect it, but you're not ready for that yet, neither is the rifle. When you first get it home, whether you bought it new, used, it doesn't matter. You're going to want to give the parts a quick clean. You're going to wipe out the factory grease and factory preservative oil and apply proper lubricant. If the rifle was bought pre-owned, it's going to have more than likely carbon in it from the previous owner from shooting it. So we're going to break it down. This is not really going to be that in-depth. It's a real simple procedure. The AK doesn't need that much lubricant and TLC to keep it running, but it does need some. So let's get there real quick. Disassemble your rifle. I can't really show you how to do it on here, but I'll break it down really quick. Push that top cover button right here. Lift the cover away. Extract the bolt and bolt carrier. Those are the three parts we're going to be working with primarily right now. So stay tuned. So right here you see the three components we're going to be working with and focusing on to get them ready for the range. This is your bolt carrier and the piston. It should have some flex to it. It's supposed to be that way. This is your bolt. This is obviously your recoil spring assembly. When you first get this out of the box, it's going to have some factory oil or preservative on it. That's fine. Or if you bought it used, it might have some carbon from the previous owner shooting it. It's a real easy process to get this cleaned up enough and sufficient for proper use. Wipe down the stem of the bolt. Mine's rifle's already been cleaned, so there's not much carbon on it. Just wipe off anything you see on here. Factory grease or whatever. Get this track right here. Just like that. That's all it really takes. Then the recoil spring. This is the mill type guide rod, so it has two steel bars and a cap as opposed to the AKM that has two metal wires. You know, it doesn't really matter, it works the same way, so just wipe off the factory preservative. Now, if you bought a used rifle, you can see my rifle's used, you can see the silver in there. That's where you have points of friction. So, you're going to want to put some lubricant in this rail here, on the bottom of the carrier here, and in this rail here. In this track, you don't have to go too nuts. Just put it on the parts where the bolt rides when it cams. As you can see, when it cams into action, that's an unlocked bolt. That's a locked bolt. It follows that track. So all you really have to lubricate are on the sides, inside that track, and on the rails where it rubs. On the bolt, the cam lug on this side and this side, this rides on a rail right there, right there. Put some lube there where it rides over the hammer, on that underside of the lug, and on this part of the lug. It doesn't need a whole lot. You don't have to oil your stem, because you can see in here, when it's together, there's a lot of movement in these pieces. You put it in this way, you can really see how much it moves around. And yeah. It's got so much room in there to move, you really don't have to oil the stem at all. But this rifle does not need that much oil or lubricant, but it does need some. So oil that up. On your recoil spring, after you wipe it down, you can dip it about that deep into your oil, whatever oil you're going to use or lubricant, and then you can put it inside your bolt carrier, and it will distribute the oil through and throughout. Because when the rifle is cycling, it's going to be moving like this, right? It's going to distribute the oil, lubricate your spring, and you're going to be all set. You do that once with this rifle, you probably won't ever have to do it again, because there's nowhere for it to go. So that's how that's done. Real easy and simple. We're going to throw this back together, and we're going to move on to the next topic. So before we get too deep into zeroing, this is the AK rear sight. It's graduated in meters. In this instance, it goes from your battle zero to 100 meters, 200, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 800 meters. Now, when you're thinking and using AKs, think metric system. They do not use the superior imperial unit on these rifles. It's all metric because it's a European design. Now, when you go to zero this rifle, set it to the 1 for 100 meters. This is going to come into factor in a little while, but Put it on the 1 for now and leave it there for the zeroing process. We'll get into why. Well, this is an AK front sight tool. I bought this years ago when I had an SKS because it does work on both, because the setting system is pretty much the same. Now you can do this process without this tool, but this tool makes this process a lot easier. The top right there adjusts the elevation of your front sight, and this piece here will adjust the windage. You put it over your front sight like this, and you turn to push the sight drum to either the left or the right, and it gets you to where you want to be. Now, let's talk about what that looks like. Now, all the magic is going to happen up here. We're going to roll in some graphics to go over it, but I'm going to give you a real quick rundown right now. This is your front sight post, and this is your front sight drum. The goal is to put this post in the middle of this notch, and you should hit where you're aiming. A general rule of thumb that works for the AK, as every other rifle, when you're zeroing at the front sight chases the impacts. So let's say you fire your 3-shot group, or your 5 or whatever, at 50 yards. I did say yards, and we're going to come back to why in a minute. And your shot group is high and left. That means you're going to take that front sight tool and push the post with the drum to the left. You're going to take your front sight post and screw it counterclockwise to bring it up. Bringing the post up will bring the group down. Bringing the post down will bring the group up. Pushing the drum to the left will make the group go to the right. Pushing the drum to the right will make the group go to the left. It sounds a little complicated, but there's other people that can explain it way better and demonstrate it in real time. I'm going to roll in some graphics too that I'm going to put together so we can see how that works. It's really more simple than it sounds. So ideally, this is what your front sight picture should look like. And you take your first shot, and you should get something about right there. That is the ideal, that is perfect. But when it's your first AK, your first time taking it out, it probably won't be like that. So how do you get a group like that when you have something else? So the first time you take this rifle out, you're going to get a group like this. It's going to be off center. It doesn't matter where it is. In this example, it's a little bit high and it's to the left. Here's how we fix that. With the front sight tool, we would take it and push the drum of the front sight to the left. And it's a little bit high, so we're going to take the front sight post and we're going to turn it counterclockwise. And it's going to lower the impacts. Making the post go up brings the impacts down. Moving the post to the left makes the groups go to the right. And obviously it would be the opposite if your group was somewhere else. So using that information, that's how you would zero your rifle and ideally get on post impacts. Now, remember when I told you to put your relief sight on the 100 meter setting? Here's why. You're going to put your target up at 50 yards. Yes, 50 yards, the superior imperial unit. You're going to put it out at 50 yards. You're going to get your groups to hit center like that on the 100 meter setting at 50 yards. This will give you an equal zero at 100 yards. Now, 100 meters is 110 yards. So to correct for that slight offset, once you get to this point, you're going to take your front sight and you're going to turn it clockwise 1/8 of a turn. This will change your point of impact at 100 yards. It will raise it by 1.5 inches approximately, and that will account for the slight difference between yards and meters at this distance. In doing it this way, you'll take your graduations on your rear leaf sight, and it will take away that meter yard difference, and it will make your graduations all line up for their appropriate meter range. So if you bought an AK today, more than likely it would come with the Magpul Pete Mag. Is that a good thing or a bad thing? I don't know. I don't have anything bad to say about this mag. It's worked 100% reliably for me. But if I was ever buying this gun for the end of days or SHTF type thing, I might not go with this. I might use this as a loaner mag maybe or something, but I'm going to go with European steels. Why European steel? Well, quite a few reasons actually. A lot of these steel mags have come from a lot of different countries, from a lot of different time periods, and they have a lot of stories to tell. So some people that don't even have AKs just collect the AK mags because there's, like I said, just a lot of history and a lot of story behind them. Some people can identify the magazine just by their weld patterns and stampings and stuff. I'm one of those people. I can actually identify mags pretty accurately just by looking at their rivet patterns and, their weld patterns and stampings and things like that. This one, for example, is an East German AK mag. This is a Chinese flatback mag. They're called flatbacks because they literally have a flat back. The rib is ground down and welded shut. This is a Yugoslavian AK mag. This mag locks the bolt back on the last shot. This is a Polish mag that has definitely seen better days, but this magazine still works reliably. This is a cheap European polymer mag I bought. This one also locks the bolt back on the last shot. So there's that. Now here's something to consider with AKs. Generally speaking, with 7.62x39, any of these magazines will work in a 7.62x39 gun. A 5.56 AK, I cannot say the same thing. 5.56 caliber AKs were never built to a standard. So you have a Yugoslavian standard, you have a Polish standard, a Chinese standard, and the mags do not interchange with each other. In more recent years, that's kind of gotten a little bit better, but you're still chancing it with 5.56 AKs. Because once again, there was never a set standard made. Now, 5.45 guns, yeah, generally speaking, a 5.45 AK mag will work in any 5.45 AK. Now, 7.62x39. Again, all these mags should work in any gun that chambers in 7.62x39. With a caveat, and this is just a personal thing. If I had a Romanian gun, I would primarily buy Romanian magazines if they were available. If I had a Polish gun, I would buy Polish mags. Chinese gun, Chinese mags, and so on and so forth. You get what I'm getting at. Buy the magazine that is manufactured by the same country your rifle is, because it just makes sense to me that that would solidify your reliability. The standards will all be within tolerance for that country, for that rifle, for the mag. It makes sense. Now, in my experience, I've had several AKs, and I never had a problem exchanging mags. Some magazines fit tighter than others in certain guns, but feeding reliability has always been there. All of these magazines have fit fine in my Bulgarian rifle. They've all fit fine in my Wasser that I no longer have. And they've all fit in my Century Arms Vishka that I did have at one point. And I don't have those two guns anymore, but I still have the Bulgarian. And all these mags have worked across the board. So, 7.62x39, the magazines are all standardized. 5.45, the magazines are all standardized. 5.56 AKs, however, are not standardized. And when you get a 5.56 AK, you are bound and limited specifically to the country that made your AK. So, that's just how that works. Generally speaking, not much you can do about it. I would just get, if you're going to get into an AK, I would get in 7.62x39 or 5.45 and just enjoy the standardization. So, there's that. So here we have 4 magazines. They're little 5-round Norinco magazines they use for bench shooting, for zeroing and stuff, but we have 3 different types of ammo in here. We have the generic, no longer imported, Russian steel case from Tula or Wolf or whatever. We have some lacquer-coated ammo from some country in Turkmenistan. And we have some Yugoslavian brass-cased corrosive ammo. So check this out. AK ammo is made in many countries from many time periods, and the quality is hit or miss. The ammo might work great. A lot of it does. But corrosive ammo is out there and it's a thing. What does corrosive ammo mean? Well, it's ammo that has a sodium compound in the primer. And when that primer ignites the gunpowder, it spreads that chemical through and throughout the bore of the gas system and all that stuff. And if allowed to sit, especially in a humid environment, your rifle will rust and your bore will look like it grew fur, and your chrome lining won't last forever. And if you don't have chrome, the steel will pit and your rifle's accuracy will degrade drastically. Now, how do you know what's corrosive and what isn't? Well, you don't. Unless you buy the ammo from a manufacturer or a reputable place, it'll tell you whether the ammo is corrosive or not. Like this ammo, I know for a fact. This is Yugoslavian ammo made in the 1983? Yeah, 1983 I'm looking at it right now. Boom. So there's that. This ammo is advertised usually as non-corrosive, but we're going to talk about that. This ammo from Turkmenistan, I found out is because I shot some and didn't clean my rifle, and I came back about a month later and it was all rusty. So, why did I put a pin in this one and say maybe? Well, I've had some non-corrosive ammo that definitely was. I had an SKS back in the day. I shot maybe 500 rounds of this through it in one sitting, and I thought nothing of it until once again one day came. I decided to take it apart and wipe it down, and the rifle was rusty through and throughout. So there's just that. The rumor and legend that AKs don't need to be cleaned because they're indestructible, it's really not true. These things are machines made by human hands. They will wear, things will break, and things will rust if you don't take care of it. Now, corrosive ammo, how do you combat the corrosive issue? It's more simple than you think it is. All you have to do when you get done shooting any kind of ammo out of an AK, especially corrosive though, because you can't always be sure, you take your rifle apart, as we just did, and you get some boiling water and just pour it through the bore, through the gas tube, and all over the parts. Why boiling water, you ask? Well, simply put, because boiling water evaporates fast. So you don't have to worry about the corrosive components really having time to, the ones that weren't flushed out, to rust and corrode. But my AKs, I really don't clean the bores. Usually, I just flush them with boiling water, and then I come back and check a little while later if there's any corrosion going on. If there isn't, cool. If there is, well, then I'll punch it and wipe it out with a rag and, stuff like that. But generally speaking, some boiling water is all it takes is to keep the gun from rusting after corrosive ammo. Now this is the part we all been waiting for, right? Manipulations. Let's get into it. Now, when we manipulate an AK, we have to keep a few things in mind. This thing is effectively a World War II rifle. Is that a bad thing? Well, not so much, but we have to remember something in context. The controls in this thing are made to be big and bulky for a reason. They're easy to hit. They're easy to actuate with cold hands or a gloved hand. In frozen conditions, it's easier to break ice with a lot of leverage. It's easier to break ice with parts that have a lot of tolerance between them. So, we need to take a look at this thing for the creature it is. It's not necessarily this high-speed, whiz-bang AR, but it can be run very effectively with even basic training, really minimal training. There isn't too much to learn on an AK. But we'll go over some manipulations right now to help speed this process up and make it run a little more smoothly for you. When you patrol with an AK, it's a good idea to run that gun unsafe, as it is for every rifle. Now the AR, you have a convenient little switch on the side over here, like this AK does. It's more of a high-end AK, and it has a thumb switch like an AR. Most AKs don't have that. So when you're walking around with an AK, practice keeping your middle and index finger nice and high on the safety. And it's easy to wipe that off and flip it back on if you have to. And when your gun is cocked, you can see it's empty. So, but it's pretty quick to slip it off with your swipe it like this and get the trigger. It's not a very hard process. It's an easy process to practice. So practice from the low ready. Something like this. And snapping to a target at your local range if you have the facility to do so. You can get pretty quick with it. You can practice from the high ready. A situation is somewhat like this, and practiced flipping it off and snapping too. I think it's something to consider. You know, things happen quickly, and learn to do them appropriately. Now, when it comes to AK reloads, there's a lot of different ways to do them, and honestly, none of them are wrong. None of them are right. With an AR, we're told keep our firing grip on the pistol grip, drop the mag, new mag, bolt catch, and we're back in the game. The AK doesn't really work like that. Old Soviet era manuals actually have you do the reload with your trigger hand. These modern day, you know, Spetsnaz reloads have you do the knock like this, run under, all this crazy stuff. The Iraqi reload is one that you see in the news media and all that a lot, where it's knock the mag out, replace it, and then let that go. I would say that none of these reloads are wrong, and they all have a reason why they exist. Even the Iraqi reload does. So let's get into those reloads. So let's talk about each of the 3 most popular reloads for this thing. The old Soviet era manual tells you something like this. Your gun is up, click no bang. You extract your original magazine. Whatever you do with it is up to you. We're going to discard it. We're going to grab our new magazine. We're going to insert it from our firing side, cock the gun, and get back in the fight. This is actually the reload I liked for the longest time because it was so simple and you have a lot of control of the rifle. You can bring it in, do it in your workspace like this. You can have it up like this, and do it like this. It's a very easy reload to master because it's using your fine motor skill hand to do a lot of the work. So it makes a lot of sense. Let's look at it at speed. This reload supposedly exists because the Iraqi army or something had AKs that were beat to shit, had magazines that were beat to shit, and were hard to extract or insert. Now, I don't know how true this is, but that's the story, and we'll talk about the reload. Everyone has seen it. It looks pretty cool, but is it that practical? Well, I'm sure somebody used it somewhere and it worked, so let's talk about it. What that reload entails is the gun going click instead of bang. Reaching up with this hand, grabbing the charging handle, pulling it to the rear and holding it in your shoulder like so. Extracting a new magazine, knocking away the old one like that. Inserting the new magazine, and then releasing the grip of the charging handle. And getting back in the fight. Let's see what that looks like at speed. Now this final reload is called the Spetsnaz, or I would call it the American reload because I truthfully believe that it's an American invention. But I could be wrong, don't know, don't care. But let's take a look at it. It involves knocking the magazine away, inserting the new magazine, going under the gun, and cocking it like so. So let's take a look at it at speed. The more astute viewer out there might have noticed something when I did my AK reloads, when I did the mag knock. I didn't do them in the traditional sense where I do them like this, with the front of the mag, over here where the locking tab is, and the feet lips are and all that. I do them from the back of the mag in such a manner. Why do I do that? Well, doing them with the front of the mag by the feed lip area and the locking tab, something like this can happen, where the round gets caught, it lifts up like that, and it's not going to be good for inserting. It's going to cause more problems than anything else. So that's one of the primary reasons why. But there's one more. We have to get up close and look at the mag under a non-red light, and we can take a better look. So let's take a look at the locking tab and the feed lips of these polymer magazines and a steel magazine for comparison. This is a Magpul Mo magazine, or whatever they call it. See how thin those feed lips are? And see how they're all just plastic with no steel reinforcement? There are other plastic mags like this US Palm here that are more robust. But granted, again, it's all plastic. Take a look at a steel magazine. See how the feed lips are even still relatively stout? And they're made of steel. This is all metal. You probably won't have that problem with the metal mags, but for continuity of training, use the base plate even on these. Because on these plastic mags, if you bust the mag right here, or chew up these feed lips, you'll render your mag inoperable. Using the base plate of the magazine in such a manner guarantees you won't chew them up so much, and you will have magazines that will last much longer. Even these cheaper magazines, if the end of days or whatever does come, you can hand this off to somebody and say, hey, you need a mag? I got you. Granted, it's a Magpul magazine, not the best, but I've had no problems with them. Even these US Palm mags, but still, using the base plate of the mag to knock out the first magazine pretty much guarantees you won't damage this, at least at first, doing this stuff. They can land this way, of course, when they come out, but they usually don't. AK mags, when they get kicked out, land on their back. And there's not much to break back here, but this little tab here can break because it's, once again, plastic. But something to keep in mind, guys. And some AK mags, too, like the Yugo mags, they hold the bolt back on the last shot, and that puts extra tension on the follower, so they're a little more harder to remove. So again, chewing up this part of the magazine will damage it. So, beat on the back. So I guess that's all for now, guys. It was a really rudimentary, basic, entry-level course on how to get your AK ready for the range, and how to get you prepared and set up to use it appropriately. It's a real basic gun. There's not a lot to it. But you can deep dive into AKs and find out all the little accessories, things that go along with them. Like this here is a PSOP scope. Those are really kind of hard to come by now, and they're not really as popular as they once were because of a certain event in a certain part of the world. And we're not going to talk too much about that. But yeah, the AK is a really cool gun. It's very interesting. It's definitely a product of its time. And the fact that it's held up this long for this many years is a testament to its legacy. Granted, in America now, in recent years, with ammo bans and things being what they are, it's kind of fallen by the wayside. But I don't think in my lifetime AKs are ever going to go away fully. So, video we just covered a few things, how to get you from out of the box to squared away for the range, get you guys on doing some manipulations, things like that, to be able to use the rifle appropriately and effectively. But maybe another time we can do more deep dives into stuff, other accessories and such. So just thanks for watching. I really appreciate it. Go forth, do great things, stay out of trouble. Deuces.